In 1964, a former middle-distance runner and his college track coach pooled together $50, a handshake, and a dream so fragile it could have disappeared before most people ever heard the name Nike. Phil Knight was 26 years old, driving a beat-up station wagon to track meets, selling Japanese running shoes out of the trunk. No store, no warehouse, no guarantee of tomorrow. Just belief. Raw, stubborn, almost irrational belief that American runners deserved something better than what the market was giving them. The company wasn't even called Nike yet. It was Blue Ribbon Sports, a name that meant nothing to nobody. And for years, that's exactly what it was. Nothing. A side hustle. A gamble dressed up as a business.
But here's what nobody tells you about the Nike story. It almost ended before it began. Multiple times. And the moments that nearly killed it are the very same moments that made it legendary. Bill Bowerman was the coach, a man so obsessed with making shoes lighter and faster that he once poured rubber into his wife's waffle iron, ruining it, but accidentally inventing one of the most iconic shoe soles in sports history. That's the kind of madness this company was built on. Not strategy, not boardroom brilliance, obsession. In the early years, money was the enemy. Knight was constantly broke. The company survived on razor-thin margins, borrowing from one bank to pay another, juggling debt the way a circus performer juggles chainsaws. One wrong move, and everything comes apart. By 1972, Blue Ribbon Sports was rebranding. A graphic design student named Carolyn Davidson was paid $35 to sketch a logo. $35. Knight looked at her swoosh and said, honestly, that he didn't love it, but he figured it would grow on him. It grew on the entire world. But even with a new name, a new logo, and a burning ambition, Nike was hemorrhaging. Their primary supplier, Onitsuka Tiger, was threatening to cut them off completely. Or worse, buy them out and erase everything Knight had built. The relationship that had launched Blue Ribbon Sports was now the knife at its throat. Knight made a desperate move. He started sourcing shoes from other Japanese manufacturers, behind Onitsuka's back. It was risky, it was ethically murky, and it was the only way to survive. When Onitsuka found out, the partnership exploded. But by then, Nike had already begun standing on its own feet. Then came the bank crisis of 1975. Nisho Iwai, Nike's Japanese trading partner, was essentially propping the company up, providing credit lines that kept the lights on. American banks thought Knight was reckless. One banker called Nike a house of cards. The company was growing faster than it could breathe. Revenues climbing, but cash flow gasping for air. Knight would later describe those years as running full speed toward a cliff, hoping the ground would appear beneath his feet. It almost didn't. In 1976, Nike's relationship with its manufacturing sources was again on the verge of collapse. Costs were rising. Competition was sharpening. Adidas and Puma weren't just foreign names anymore. They were cultural institutions with decades of brand loyalty baked in. For Nike to compete meant not just making a better shoe. It meant changing how the world thought about athletic footwear altogether. Then, something happened that no marketing team could have planned. 1972 Olympic trials. Steve Prefontaine, brash, charismatic, the most exciting American distance runner of his generation, showed up wearing Nike. He didn't win a medal. He finished fourth. But the image of Pre, defiant and electric, wearing that swoosh, planted something in the American athletic consciousness. Nike wasn't just a shoe company anymore. It was a statement, a personality, an attitude. Prefontaine died in a car crash in 1975, just 24 years old. Knight was devastated. Pre had been more than an ambassador. He was the soul of what Nike was trying to be. And yet, even in death, Prefontaine's connection to the brand deepened its authenticity. Nike wasn't just selling performance, it was selling spirit. But spirit doesn't pay invoices. By the late 1970s, the federal government came after Nike with a customs dispute that nearly brought the whole operation down. The United States Customs Service argued Nike owed over $25 million in backdated import duties under something called the American Selling Price Rule, a protectionist policy so obscure that most companies didn't even know it existed until the bill arrived. $25 million. At that moment in Nike's history, that number was existential. It wasn't a fine, it was a potential death sentence. Knight fought. He negotiated, he lobbied Congress, he turned a customs dispute into a political battle. And somehow, through sheer tenacity and a settlement that required Nike to invest in American manufacturing and pay a reduced amount, he survived it. By 1980, Nike went public. The IPO valued the company at roughly $178 million. Phil Knight, the man who used to sell shoes from his car, became a multi-millionaire overnight. But even that moment was shadowed by tension. Going public meant giving up control. It meant answering to shareholders. It meant the dream was no longer just his. He did it anyway, because survival had taught him that holding on too tight is sometimes the fastest way to lose everything. And then came the 1980s, and a kid from North Carolina named Michael Jordan. Nike's board didn't want to sign him. They were a running shoe company. Basketball wasn't their lane. But a visionary executive named Rob Strasser saw something others didn't. Jordan wasn't just a basketball player. He was a force of nature. And if Nike could attach itself to that force, everything would change. Jordan's agent almost killed the deal before it started. Jordan himself almost didn't show up to the pitch meeting. But when Nike unveiled the concept, a signature shoe, red and black, bold enough to get banned by the NBA, Jordan saw it. The Air Jordan 1 launched in 1985. The NBA fined Jordan $5,000 every single game he wore them. Nike paid every fine, gladly, because the controversy was free advertising worth millions. In its first year, Air Jordan generated $126 million in sales. The target had been $3 million. That single bet, risky, contrarian, almost rejected, didn't just save Nike. It redefined what a sneaker could be. It turned footwear into culture. It made a shoe a symbol of aspiration that transcended sports entirely. By the 1990s, Nike's revenues crossed the $1 billion mark, then $5 billion, then $10 billion. The swoosh became one of the most recognized symbols on Earth. More recognizable, some studies would later show, than the Christian cross. But none of it was inevitable. Every step of this story had a moment where it all could have ended. A canceled partnership, a government fine, a bank that said no, a board that almost passed on Michael Jordan, a coach who ruined a waffle iron, a college kid who didn't love his own logo. That's the real Nike story. Not triumph, not destiny, not a genius sitting in a room with a master plan. It's a story about people who refused to stop, even when every rational voice in the room told them they should. Phil Knight once wrote that the cowards never started, and the weak died along the way. And that leaves only the rest of us. He was talking about running, but he was also talking about everything else. Because the difference between a company that disappears and an empire that endures is rarely talent, rarely timing, and almost never luck. It's the decision, made quietly in the darkest moment, to take one more step. Just